Subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon to never miss an update.
I had no godfather per se, right, in IBM. So when I joined there, and I found myself on bench, right, first month. And you can think in a senior position, if you're on bench in a typical IT company, what kind of things go through your mind? And I was offered a role which I had never done in my life. But this was a question of my survival because that was the only role that was available when you get into a new situation. That's where your foundation and your understanding and your ability to interrelate events, see a broader picture, that's how it helps you. So if it builds your fundamentals, you are able to react and able to operate in such situations.
All right, so today I have someone with me who has a collective experience over 25 years working in varied profiles and is currently the managing director at Accenture, responsible for consulting, selling and delivery of large portfolio of clients across energy, utilities, chemicals, natural resources, metals, and mining industries. Satyaki Mookerjee has worked in companies like IBM and Tata Hitachi before Accenture and have passed out from Xlri in 2001 as part of the GM program. We will talk more about his journey from his B school today in this conversation and how he made it to the position that he is in right now. Thanks, Satyaki, for joining in today for this conversation.
Thank you, Purnangshu, for having me here and having to share my experience.
All right. Satyaki, going back in time, when you were working as a senior manager at Tata Hitachi, which was the time, you decided to opt for an MBA? Why did you think that it is important for your career to take a shift?
So if I go back several years, almost maybe around 21 years, I felt the need to have a more broader conceptual understanding of what's happening in the industry, the trends, be it market trends, be it financial trends, various kinds of insights. And there I felt that the work that I was doing, I was probably not having a more broader understanding of the industry trends, competition, etc. That's the time when I thought taking a course in management would be very helpful. But I also did not want to take a 2-year break because then you have a lot of other responsibilities. And then I thought, let me take a break for about a year. And that's the time I decided to do this course.
Right. You mentioned a very important point that, you did not want to take a 2-year break. How important do you think it becomes as a professional when you're already working in a setup and you know that there are certain responsibilities that I have in my shoulders that I cannot, defer at this point in time?
It was a combination of factors, I would say. All right. So obviously, when you are working and you have a set of responsibilities, you really want to do a program which has a brand value, number one. You also don't want to do any other postal course because I had several choices, right? You go and have several postal courses, online courses. But what I wanted to do is be with the professors, right? Spend 1 full year, full time, because that makes a lot of difference because you go through the rigor of the program, right? That's the reason why I choose Xlri and that to a 1-year program, because the combination of these factors met my needs that I was looking for at that point in time.
Correct. Satyaki, when you took up this program way back in maybe 2000, 2001, from there to, now, looking at the times that we are living in, how relevant do you think a general management course from Xlri is at this moment in time?
Okay, so let me tell you the name. So when it started, it was called General Management, right? Now, I can't vouch for why they named that course that way because what we used to study was almost the same books, the same material, the same professors that any other the business management course students used to do. The only difference that I saw was probably in a number of I would say papers that were probably different from the main 2-year program. But in terms of the expertise that you get, in terms of the key papers that you go through, there was hardly a difference I could find. So that's number one. The second part is no management course can ever teach you everything in life. It will only give you, so it will teach you or hammer inside you how to think, where to think. the framework it will give you.
Absolutely. Satyaki, after your B school journey, you applied some of these concepts in the job that you took up at Accenture. Tell us a little bit about how did you handle those roles and responsibilities back then when you were out of the system, and it was a new kind of a role for you that you were deliberating with.
So the first thing this helped me to do was to handle new situations, because when new situations come, you will not have gone through that in the past, right? So you need to apply yourself in a new situation. Now, if you have a lot of these concepts at the back of your mind, you know exactly how to react. At least you will use a lot of your 360-degree sense, if I may say so, right? Because, for example, I may be a supply chain consultant, but I may be new to the role. But if I know, for example, what kind of behavior the client is likely to do, what are the reasons why a client would be investing, if I knew what are the key KPIs the client would be going after, if I have the broader framework, you can be thrown in fire, right? Because practically, a lot of companies hire, they do not always expect that you will get a trained person. They will put you in fire. They will put you in a new situation. Question is, how do you react to that situation? And for example, when I used to do a solutioning, let's say I'm doing for a new deal, of course, I got a training, but the company expected me to perform day one. Because I'm getting into a new area, the company is not going to give me months and months, years and years to learn. They would expect me to adapt fast. So if I have to adapt fast, if I have to understand the broader picture, I cannot always learn for 2 years to go up that ladder. If I go up, fair enough, that's fine, but so will it slow down your growth. So if you do want to increase your rate of growth, if you want to increase your professional achievement, you also need to understand a lot of things, use your 360-degree understanding. Now, if I had not done this kind of a course, for example, I would not have thought from these multivarious viewpoints.
From this journey at Accenture, when you started off and you understood a lot of concepts in the business school that was taught to you in real life, you moved to IBM next. Tell us about this shift. Was it a drastic shift or was it a planned shift at your end?
So the reason why I shifted, from Accenture to IBM was purely personal. The point that you mentioned was when I landed there, it was the peak of recession, 2008, if you recall, right? It was the peak of recession. And a lot of people were going on bench, all right? And I had no godfather per se, right, in IBM. And I found myself on bench, right, first month. And you can think in a senior position, if you're on bench in a typical IT company, what kind of things go through your mind? And I was offered a role which I had never done in my life, okay? I had never done in my life. And that was more about a solutioning role in a large application outsourcing context. Now, solutioning was never I had done. I was more into delivery, into more of technology consulting. That is what I had done. But this was a question of my survival because that was the only role that was available. And trust me, this understanding that I had. So I was talking about how do you react when you get into a new situation? That's where your foundation and your understanding and your ability to interrelate events, see a broader picture, that's how it helps you. So if it builds your fundamentals, you are able to react and able to operate in such situations. So when I went in there, I did a solutioning role. I was told, okay, then go and do a transition role. I was told, okay, now you have done a transition. Why don't you do a contract negotiation and then transition? Then I said, well, if you have done all of these three, why don't you do a delivery role once again? So right from the whole deal shaping to winning the deal, it was a massive deal. It ran into some millions of almost 3-figure in millions, near to about $100 million deal. So how do you see the entire life cycle starting from solutioning, client presentations, being in contract negotiations, transition, delivery, financial management? So you see the entire life cycle, many of which I have never done before. All right. Now, and eventually I was awarded, and that time we had the 100th year with IBM. And so Sam Palmisano, who was the CEO, he had come down. I was one of the top 3 recipients of the CEO award way back. That was in 2011. That's when I actually got that award. So I felt that all of my efforts got recognized.
Absolutely. And Satyaki, it won't be wrong to say, we are kind of a similar in a similar situation now. Things are looking very wobbly for a lot of people who are, coming out very freshers who are coming out from B schools. A lot of job losses are also happening. People are
Yes.
definitely, they are also being put into bench. A lot of senior people are putting into bench. This story definitely will inspire them at this point in time. What are the things that they should definitely back in themselves when they are in a situation like this, according to you?
I would say trust your instincts, number one. Uh, Always remember there is a way to start afresh. All right. It is not necessarily that, for example, I would have done, let's say, my specialization, let's say, in marketing, right? I may not get the role right now exactly as per what I've studied. But if you trust the instincts, the concepts that you have done, right, and use your common sense, because at the end of the day, uh, any work will be based on common sense. And a good B school would have taught you how to use that common sense. Ideally speaking, for example, if you go back, let's say around 60, 70 years, Dhirubhai Ambani did not have to learn management. Jamshedji Tata did not learn management, right?
Right.
But they had extraordinary business sense. What these management institutes teach us is to put this common sense in a more structured form and also back it up by research.
Moving on, Satyaki, you after your IBM stint, after getting awarded by the CEO at that point in time, you moved back to Accenture, where you were
Yes.
currently working as a MD. Tell us about
Yeah.
your experiences a bit in these kind of times, and what were some of the major challenges that you faced at this point?
So when I moved back to Accenture, I moved back in an industry lead role. All right. So what does an industry do in a typical consulting organization? You are supposed to be aware of what kind of trends are there in your industry. What kind of offerings do I bring so that we could differentiate ourselves from competition in the market? And how can we be more relevant to our clients in generating value for them? So what was important was to understand the market research, in the sense, industry research in terms of choke points. Where do we have where do businesses have choke points? The second part was obviously delivery, right? Now, when you do delivery, you need to understand that in the portfolio, these are my client expectations, these are the outcomes expected, this is the value realization I have committed to the client. You also know your financials, because while we do this, we have to deliver profitably, right? And we have to show year-on-year growth. And then along that, when you do, what you need to do, or what I had to do, was to constantly update myself, because technology is changing, right? What I would have been, so when I started off as a technology consultant, let's say as an SAP consultant, technology has changed. A lot of cloud came in, AI came in, right? Blockchain, digital, a lot of these things came in. So what is also important that I specialize in one of these areas, so that I understand when I take these offerings to the client, at least I have a broader picture as to what are the various technology components, how are the client's expectations changing.
Absolutely. Satyaki, as a MD, what does your day-to-day, life look like at this point in time?
So 3, 4 things, right? One, uh, am I growing my portfolio? Uh, am I giving a top line growth? What are the new opportunities should I go after? Am I delivering profitably? Do I have the right cost structure? Do I have the right talent? So it's not just about revenue and cost, it's about talent. If I do not have the right talent, if I do not have the right talent development and retention programs, if I do not have the right people motivation programs, right? Do I have open lines of communication with my people? So establishing people connect programs, for example. Uh, a lot of my time goes in people connect, because you understand in a very dynamic industry like technology consulting, people have very high aspirations. They want a fast growth. I, as a lead, need to be able to show them the path for that growth, because if I can't motivate them enough, they will find some other place to go. All right. So we are in a people business. So if you really focus on your customers, talk to the customers, understand their needs. And one of my own mentors in Accenture told me, Satyaki, if forget everything else, forget your own boss, but never forget your client and never forget the people who work for you.
In your case, you have been a part of Accenture at least for 10 years now in your second stint that you have taken part in as a manager, and then move on to become an MD. What next lies ahead for Satyaki from here on? As you mentioned that, learning never stops for you. I'm sure more learning will come in your way. And where are you looking at from here?
So I'm more looking at probably a mode of sales role. Right now, I manage a portfolio. All right. Of course, I have sales targets, I have delivery targets, but I feel I am at my best when I am completely in front of the client. I see moving purely into a client facing more of a sales role, in a deal shaping role. All right. And that's what I would say in terms of a role. And there is no end to roles, Purnangshu. You can touch almost every facet of the corporate life. Things will evolve. So wherever I see learning, wherever I see a new challenge, so things where, so for example, even if it has to be a new geography where I need to move, create new markets, understand the market trends over there, these are the kinds of things that excite me today.
Right. Satyaki, before we let you go, what will be your parting advice to all the aspirants, all the students, or all the working professionals who are in their jobs, not very happy with what they're doing right now, want to upgrade themselves, thinking about the courses that they can opt for or apply for in the times that we are living in currently, which will give them the necessary push in their careers?
So it's very important to understand when somebody is wanting to make a change, it's very important to understand in which way the industry is moving. What are the trends that are coming in? All right. Because let's say if I want to invest in a course, it doesn't have to be Xlri. I mean, it could be any course, right? It could be a technology course. Even on Coursera, you can go. There are so many places where you can have digital learning, digital mode, right? So any course. Let's understand where the trend is going and what kind of skills are being required. All right. So for some people, they may not even want to do an MBA course. And I would say if somebody feels that I am not for an MBA, that is fine. But one should therefore understand, what am I good at? Understand your strength first. Just because there are 20 people running for an MBA program, don't run for it. Understand whether MBA is really suited to your strengths. Because everybody is going to IIMs or Xlri, I will also go there. See whether your strengths are aligned, whether your aspirations are aligned, what kind of work you will have to take up when you pass that course. If I'm a researcher and if I want to do continued research, I would then say, well, I would not be going, just to learn management. I will probably be going in an MTech, or I will be going in a PhD for a technology area. And still there is a job market. Still, there's a very attractive job market.
Absolutely. And there indeed is no formula to success, Satyaki. It always is an introspection. It always is asking questions to yourself as to what am I good at and what drives me. And if you are somebody who is interested in knowing more about the course that Satyaki had taken up from Xlri, do check out the link in the description. It's an honor to have this conversation and chat with you. I really enjoyed this conversation where you shared a lot of insights from your career, and the worldview that you believe in is currently very suitable with the times that we are living in. As you've mentioned again and again, that learning is the key to success, and that is what we at Inside IIM also believe in. Thank you very much for your time, Satyaki, and all the very best for your future endeavors.
Thank you, Purnangshu, for having me here. And I really enjoyed the conversation. It took me back several years. So reliving those moments.